As you may know, I have been sharing my experience with watch collecting, specifically Seiko watches, for a while now. I collect mostly dive watches and a few other types here and there, but that was my past knowledge about watches. Just starting out, testing out the waters, evaluating what really is a good watch. Knowing what I know now, if I were to start from scratch and collect my first 5 watches from Seiko, it doesn't have to be all dive watches like I would have thought before, but something much more logical, like having a dive watch, a chronograph, and a dress watch, and so on. I was a bit inflexible before on my watch choices, and now I'd like to share with you what my collection would have looked like if I were to begin again today. I'm not going to list the watch that I currently have. Okay, so how do we start this? Well, we are going to take a look at the budget, but I'm not really going to give much attention to it. I'm going to list the price just so you know. But again, this is like a fantasy watch collection series. I'm also not going to list, for example, 5 heavy hitter watches from Seiko, like the LX, 62 Mas, Marine Master, and Numera. You know, all the $2,000 plus price range. That's another fantasy list for another video. I'm going to try my best to make my choices reasonable and practical. Also, I'm not going to limit it to a modern watch. What I mean is, it doesn't have to be on sale in the store here and now. It can be a discontinued watch. It can be a vintage watch too. This is just how I would have bought my watches in order to avoid the mistakes that I made, which are buying the watches you actually want and not because you're provoked by a salesperson or online. I hope you don't make those mistakes, but if you do, it's fine. That's why we learn from them. I'm getting a bit off track here, so we will begin with this one. The Seiko SARB 033. Now, this is a watch that I'm always curious to see. Unfortunately, I never had the chance. Its close sibling, the SARB 030, which I owned before, was not to my liking, as it looked way too out there with the gold case and huge dial. I only hear good things about this watch, the SARB 033, mainly because it is the best all-around watch. It mimics the Rolex Explorer or the Black Oyster Perpetual. Most importantly, the Grand Seiko watch SBGR 253. I think that is the updated one with the Grand Seiko only logo, but I believe this is a solid watch. It has a screw-down crown, 100 meters of water resistance, and a 38mm case size. This was the era of Seiko having a clean dial, no nonsense X or nature dials. One of these days, I'll tell you when I like a Seiko with a nature dial. This watch would have prevented me from getting vintage watches or the smaller purchases such as the old Seiko 5s, maybe a few vintage Omegas. The SARB 033 has a decent 6R15 movement and open case back. The bracelet can also be upgraded to a better one through aftermarket sellers. The price was reasonable before, but now it's not. Overall, I am optimistic that this would be the most worn watch in the collection, without a doubt. Now you got a dress watch. You need a chronograph, not another dress watch. So I chose the newly released SRQ 047, and man, it looks a bit better than the SRQ 029, which they could have done a full-blown panda, but they just had to put that silver subdial. Some don't like it, some love it. This one is a much modern take, and long and behold, it is not limited, but the reverse panda, the SRQ 049, is limited to 1,000 pieces. This is a thick watch, as all chronographs can be, and also the case size is decent for a chronograph. This one, on the other hand, would be a perfect sporty mix to the collection. The orange tip on the second hand there is recognizable, and it really paid tribute to the original. Seiko doesn't have many choices when it comes to modern automatic chronographs. The vintage ones are brave in design and aspiring, but knowing that I have a few vintage chronographs, a modern chronograph is better, because a vintage chronograph is a pain to own. You don't know when it's gonna miss a line when you reset the hands or needs a service. They are a beauty, but the trade-off is inconsistent reliability, at least in my experience. So I would definitely get a modern chronograph. The movement is the 8R48, again the same as the previous SRQ029. It has a plus 25 minus 15 seconds per day rate, 45 hour power reserve, 28,800 vibrations per hour. The solar-powered ones of Seiko have better size and color combinations, but I'll save the quartz one for later. I believe every collector needs at least one quartz watch to run to. This is a pretty expensive watch, and I'll put the price right here. So yeah, our chronograph in this collection is the SRQ-047. Looking good so far. Okay, so the third watch, I had to put this one right here because GMT watches are getting a lot of attention. And even Seiko made a GMT dive watch. That's just crazy. But when it comes to GMT, the vintage ones is where I look. And this is what I chose, the 6217-7000 World Time. Specifically, this is the Tokyo Olympic Edition one. The colors on this one just pop out, with that half moon black and blue combination of the 24-hour inner track. It just looks phenomenal. You don't see a modern Seiko GMT having this level of class and iconic. Is it a reliable watch? Well, considering it has fewer moving parts than a chronograph, I'm willing to risk it and maybe, for some reason, use it for travel. The 37 to 38mm case size deceives as it looks wider in the photos, but I think legibility was the aim on this watch. And for them to put all the cities with different time zones around the inner bezel or some sort, I believe it can be rotated when you turn the crown in the first position. Well, in terms of the GMT function of this watch, I'm not deeply familiar with them. You can check other YouTube videos for that. But this is just one cool classic watch. And about the price, I'll put it up here if I can find it, how much it cost before. But yeah, it might also work as a dress watch. You can use this instead your Seiko Sarb whenever I want to wear something more colorful. I think this is one of the watches they should reissue. They already did the Navigator, maybe this one is next. Okay, so our fourth watch is the only quartz watch in the collection, and it is a big one. The Seiko Marine Master SBBN 031. The newer models are the SBBN 045, 49, but I'm going to stick with the one with the Marine Master on the dial. This is going to be the grab and go watch in the collection. 47.7mm case and 14.7 thickness, a grab and go. Yeah, I believe so. Maybe I'm crazy, but this is probably the best quartz diver Seiko has made. It looks iconic and heavily inspired by the Grandfather Tuna 1000 meter, which is an absolute monster of a watch, that one. I really like the Marine Master text on the dial. There is something about it that resonates with me. It looks more definitive and true to itself. The X is placed on every Prospex watch, and when you do see a watch that doesn't have that, it looks so clean. This one is already discontinued, but still a great watch to have. The price since then has gained a bit, also because it is hard to find now. It doesn't have a sapphire crystal, only hard legs, but the reflections in the photo are pleasing to the eyes. Just a clean looking dial. So this watch will mix well with the collection so far, and we're looking good. You can already rest easy knowing that the collection looks like this. You have a dive watch, you have a dress watch, you have a chronograph, a GMT, and I can stop now. I can just stop collecting and just enjoy these four watches. But there's just one small missing piece. Obviously, I tried my best to put only one dive watch, but I would be remiss if I did not put this one here. The SBDX-001, the first Marine Master of the modern era. Fun fact, it is not actually the first one to bear the name Marine Master. It is this one. But we hardly remember that, so yeah, onto this one. Why did I choose this? I know I said not listing a watch that I already own, which is the SLA-021, also known as the SBDX-023, the more modern version of this watch with the sapphire and ceramic and coating. But why would I start the collection with this one? I think it would have prevented me from buying the Marine Master 200s. I got about 3 of them before. That's a lot. I should have just went for this one. Despite the fact that the Marine Master 200 Gen 1s at the time have better specs with sapphire and diashield and color choices. On this one, the SPDX-001, the one that attracted me the most is the color of the indices. The SLA-021 has a slight amount of green tint to it, which can look weird if compared to the SPDX001. They are basically the same watch, but with minor differences. The movement is still the same 8L35. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if I began my Seiko watch collecting journey again today, I'd always get a Marine Master 300. Anyway, we know that it's not gonna end on 5 watches. I just placed 5 watches here because, instead of buying the watches that I did before, instead of allocating that money towards those watches, I could have just spent it on these. And maybe along the way, I would have spent it on much better watches with less regrets. So yeah, that's all for this video. Let me know your 5 Seiko watches if you're just beginning, or also like me, just fantasizing if you could start again with just 5. Let me know in the comments down below. Till next time, I'll see you soon. Stay safe.